Okay, let's do this. So last time I was told I was a bit too scripted, so I guess today I'm gonna try to do it a little bit more off the cuff and just try to go over a few of the matches after the placement matches that I showed last time, and try to go through some of the highlights. We see an early scout, and I don't see much, but I do see two geysers. This should have told me something, but my scouting wasn't very good at this point. Now my pro production seems to be decent, and this is very obvious if we look at this. But the problem is, I have almost nothing, and my opponent is attacking with a bunch of stalkers. Now, I did make a couple extra gates in response to not seeing an expansion, but these gates were kind of late. And this is something that I did pretty much throughout um, the whole placement matches, and I believe I didn't fix it until quite a bit later. It's not fixed in this game. It's it's gonna take a while, and that is when I drop the robotics facility, I should also immediately drop another gate, and then keep producing from my two gates and my robo non-stop while I'm probing. That way, by the time this attack comes around, instead of having two stalkers and an immortal, in the sentry, I probably would have something like four stalkers, one immortal, and one sentry. Now, this army of 10 stalkers becomes way less impressive if I have four stalkers and an immortal here, because it can soak up some of the damage, and the immortals will just clean up house over here. Now, I managed to hold here, but this is super messy, and I should have definitely pulled probes. I have a massive probe advantage. There's no reason for me to be saving probes. No, eventually I do it, but it's honestly way too late. I'm here trying to get another mortal as fast as possible, chronoing. I'm using my warp gates, but these are depowered. I get a stalker there. Like, I keep chasing. I'm starting to lose my probes. He's getting closer and closer to me in terms of probes. He has started expanding. Manages the scout in between. Now, I think if he had just kept making units, he would probably just won right here. But he actually started probing and expanded. So that allowed me to actually survive this. Now, having said that, survive I'm using in a very loose way, because clearly this is now not a good spot for me. But this is definitely a problem for me, right? This is definitely a problem. So my opponent is now having a much better composition than me, and this will be very clear during the fights. So if you look at the loss tab, it's not that bad. Income tab, I'm actually doing really well right now. If you look at everything my opponent has, he's double expanding on the back of this attack. But overall, I'm actually not that bad. The problem here is really that I went too stalker heavy. Instead of all of these stalkers, if I had a bunch of zealots here, not not even like a lot of zealots, but let's say 8 zealots, for example, and like a couple more archons, this would have been a very different fight. Now, the engagement itself was not great, and we will see that here. And also my opponent has quite the lead, and he's gonna push back here. But we can see the zealots in front soaking up all the damage. Now the archons soak up all the damage, and suddenly I lose everything. Okay, so second game. This time I'm up against the Terran. The game keeps going. I'm still making the same mistake, which is one robo. These are upgrade structures. So this game I actually made a bunch of build mistakes, right? Because this should not be coming online at the same time. There's also a gate missing here, so clearly my build needs a lot of work, right? It just needs a lot of work. And then I do 3 gateways at the same time because I'm not being able to spend my money. Now, my opponent does a Widow Mine drop over here, After this happens, yes, my opponent leaves my base, but a few seconds later, suddenly I lose a bunch of stuff. Why? Because the mines are still there, and they're still killing stuff, and I still don't have detection. This was adding insult to injury, right? I'm now at 20 workers lost. This game is honestly going terribly for me. My production tab is not doing anything. I'm just flustered at this point. My opponent will keep doing this again and again. Even more workers dead now. I am at this point so far behind, it's not even funny. This is mostly because I'm doing small mistakes that are leading me to not be able to respond to this kind of harass in a decent manner. So finally, I actually move my stuff instead of losing all my probes. Right? Finally, yay! Like, incredible. He's just delaying me, and it's obviously that this game is not going my way. And when I finally see his army coming in, yeah, this game is pretty much done for. It wasn't a glorious moment in any way, shape, or form, right? This is really, really bad. And the moment my Nexus starts going down, everyone knows that this game is not long for this life. And I think I tap out around here, yeah. And here I go. Build still sucking, so this is completely unnecessary, by the way. This is just wrong. Eventually I would fix this, but this is completely unnecessary. So instead of making 3 gateways at the start, because I'm honestly afraid of dying, 1 extra gate here right next to the robo actually fixes all this. I already have a battery here. Just keep constant production of probes, stalkers, and immortals, and you're safe. At most, it'll do a big all-in, and you just have to pull probes. And I was still exaggerating over here. Okay, my opponent shows up. Now finally start making stalkers. Or zealots, I mean. Okay. And immediately we can see that having zealots changes things, right? I am at 1-1, finally when my opponent attacks. But I am almost getting to 0, so this attack is... He is at 0-0, which is terrible for him. We're also equal in supply, so... This was actually very good for me for him to attack me. Right? Because at this point, there's not a lot that he can do to me. My opponent keeps trying to pressure me, but... This is not a very successful strategy for him. Because while I still don't have thermal lances, I probably should be chronoing this. This is a mistake. Though I am chronoing the Zealot Charge, which I made the mistake earlier of not getting. Now, here, this is something that I would learn later. Just immediately expand on the opposite side. Don't wait to lose your expansion. If you're getting attacked on one side and you have the money, just expand immediately. Now my army is getting very strong. Thermal Lance is now done. Charge is now done. 2-2 is almost ready. This is not a good fight for my opponent, right? I'm getting very good trades over and over. My opponent is now attacking a place that has nothing on it. It's essentially a pylon. So he's sacrificing a lot of stuff to kill essentially a pylon. And while killing pylons is nice, this is not a very good strategy on his side. And at this point, I started understanding that I can actually just push him. I just have too much for him anyway. Now, while the supplies don't reflect it all that much, my tech is way better than him, right? I do a scout here. I'm checking the rest of the map because I want to know if there's something hiding. Now, I see him moving towards me. This might seem like it's a decent thing for him. Honestly, I don't like it, not even a little bit. He immediately loses the tanks. So, what did he get out of it? a few structures. Sure, it's nice. But this is devastating, right? This is just devastating for him. And from here, obviously, we can see what's going to happen. I'm just going to move in, and he's just going to fall over. And obviously, the moment I crack this, I'm feeling super confident. I'm just pushing in. Even though this is not being a very cost-effective trade for me, I think. But it's still great, right? Because I'm stopping him from having any economy. I'm actually destroying quite a bit of his production. And he just leaves. Okay, another PVT. Let's go. Still the same mistake. This took quite a while to fix, by the way. Now I scout. I see this. Right? This is... prompts me to make 3 gateways, which was my response at the time. I would say it's not ideal, but it is a response, let's say. So immediately I start getting blink, because I'm thinking about how will I deal with battle cruisers. This is actually something that I did this game that I honestly in later games forgot to do. Which is, if your opponent is going battle cruisers, just go Void Rays. I think that's the proper solution here. Sure, Stalkers with Blink can do some of the work, but Void Rays will just stop it. Right? And we can see the production tab of my opponent is just making a lot of battle cruisers. And we will see in a second that... well, no. The answer is actually no. The Void Rays were indeed the correct option here. Now, you will notice I never used Prismatic Alignment, and it didn't even matter. Right? My opponent has nothing, and he just leaves. So we get another PvP. Important to note, I scout a forge right at the start of the match. Immediately, I'm thinking, okay, there's probably something weird happening here, right? So, unlike the other matches where I don't make anything other than a Stalker after the Cybernetics core is done, I actually start a Zealot fairly early. Still, second gateway not coming online. Now I see my opponent doing this, and I actually just sack the Nexus and make 3 gateways in base, start chronoing Immortals, and getting ready to fight. So, for some reason, my opponent thinks he can kill me because he destroyed my Nexus, which is interesting. But obviously my tech advantage, having this Immortal online, negates his ability to actually sustain this attack. I build a Nexus right after that. And at this point, I'm actually feeling fairly confident. I know I just blew a bunch of his stuff. I know he has invested heavily in units and in this very committed cannon rush. And so, again, just like last game, I decide, okay, I need to check if my opponent is being greedy. Okay, I'm gonna move my units across the map. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not producing workers, right? I am still producing workers. I'm making my units, looking good, spending my money, but I'm also moving across the map. Now, when I get to my opponent's base, guess what I see? A bunch of Stalkers. Now I have two Immortals, and we all know what Immortals do to Stalkers. Very swiftly, I take care of his stuff, and we can see where this is going. My opponent just doesn't have enough, and he taps out. Okay, so these were the next 5 games. It was, it has been a lot of fun to get back into StarCraft, trying to learn some of the other races that I haven't played at all, pretty much, other than campaign. Learning has been an interesting experience because there's basically so much that I don't know about the current meta, what people are currently doing, how to react to it. But slowly but surely, I feel at this point that the adaptations are working, and we're getting somewhere. We're moving forward. Uh, Even though sometimes we do stumble, there's things we don't expect, we haven't seen yet. But at the end of the day, I have been finding some solutions to the problems I'm having, trying to get my macro a little bit better, trying to, while I control my units, not to stop making stuff in my base. Now, I couldn't always keep that being true, but I definitely feel like I'm getting better at it. And I think the games show that too. Now, I'm also being able to keep my composure even when things don't go my way, and that's a good thing. And it will definitely show up way more down the line because as players get better and as I get closer and closer to Diamond, obviously people will be able to do more of the same things that I'm trying to learn right now, which is to be able to macro and while I'm macroing, still push my opponent's buttons and make sure that my opponents are being kept honest in their builds so that they don't play too greedy and we can have some very fun games. Well, that's gonna be it for today. I hope you guys liked it. If you liked it, drop a like, subscribe. You know the deal. It would help a lot. And thanks for watching.